Hey up, Rock God 2004 back with a video with a difference, I suppose. So this is the Q&A that I got asked to do. I've briefly had a quick look through them, and I'm kind of putting myself on the spot because it's not like I've gone and read them all and thought, right, I didn't want it to be like that. I wanted it to be sort of off the cuff as much as possible. So if I miss any out, can somebody tell me? Because according to this, I've got 23 to answer. So I'm going to start at the first one and see how it goes. So here we go, the first one. That's actually a pretty good question. Also, if I mention you, by the way, I will, whether you've got anything up or not, I'll put a link to your channel for setting the questions, and also whoever's asked a question. Thank you very much for taking the time to do so. I appreciate it. No matter how serious or stupid you may think it is, I'm going to answer them all. Yeah, so yes, thank you very much for taking the time out to put me a question. And thank you very much to Hugh for asking me to do this, because I was dreading it, but now I'm quite looking forward to it. Right, so question 1. David Nicholson. Cheers, David. Your house is on fire and you have the choice of grabbing your Maiden stuff or your film collection. If it was really urgent, which one item would you rescue? Wow. I don't seem to be into the vinyl as much as what I used to be honest. And it seems to be, since I've started doing this. I'm thinking of thinning the vinyl collection down. I haven't actually played any records for about 6 months. I'm more well into my films at the minute. However, that being said, the stuff I couldn't part with, and especially my Maiden stuff. I lost it all once, and it took me a long time to get it all back. So I am going to say I would rescue my Maiden stuff before anything else. And if I could only pick one item, oh, I don't know. It would probably be my bass, my Steve Harris bass, one of them, because I've got 3. He's released 3 and I've got all 3. So I would grab the one that was nearest and that I used the most. If it was an Iron Maiden record I could rescue, oh wow, I don't know. I'm not even going to answer that anyway, because you've said one item, so I'll give you the item. It's too difficult. But if you were wondering if I had to pick one film-related record, I would grab the Friday the 13th soundtrack, the obvious one. And if I had to grab one item film-related, I'm going to say, oh, it would either be my Friday the 13th box set or Jaws. And I haven't said Jaws straight away because I could probably easily go out and buy it again anyway. But yeah, one item only, I'm going to go with my bass. So thank you for that one. Second question is Lee Crosby. And you'll tell from this he's not normal. Right, Lee, do you shave your pubic region, or is it wild like your rock god hair? It's wild. It's thinned out. I used to shave it. I don't need to anymore. And even if I wanted to, my belly hides everything and I can't even see it. Hope that answers your question, my friend. Question 3, Scott the movie critic. Thank you very much, Scott. Scott is a star. Scott's the one who I've won the voucher off. Such a lovely lad. Scott's question is, excellent video, mate. Cheers, bud. Really enjoyed it. What is the most underrated horror movie that you've seen? The most underrated? Ooh. I'm probably going to say, oh, wow. There's so many. At the minute, off the top of my head, I'm going to say Halloween Ends. Because about 99% of you can't stand it. I loved it. I'm trying to think of an older one, just in case. For me personally, I want to say Jason Goes to Hell as well, because that is so hated. And I remember in the 90s, I got it on Laserdisc. And I'd never seen it before. And I saw the unrated version first, and it absolutely blew me away. The tent scene, if you've seen it, you know what I mean. The effects in that, I was like, wow. And even to this day now, I don't understand the way people harp on. It seems to be that the only reason they don't like it is because Jason's not in it much. But for me, I looked at it as I think it was intended. Although you don't see him that much, his sort of spirit is there. You do see him, just not as much. Doesn't mean to say that the kills aren't as brutal, because they are. I thought they tried something different, and I thought that they pulled it off, but there's not many people who share my opinion. And to counteract that, I think the most overrated horror film is Jason X, because I think that is terrible. I hate it. Yet it's got one of the best death scenes. The only bits I like in that are the death scenes and the actual flashback to Crystal Lake. The rest of it in space, it should never have happened. But yeah, I want to say that the most underrated film for me is Jason Goes to Hell. And also the most recent one is, without any shadow of a doubt, Halloween Ends. So thank you very much for that one, Scott. The next one, DVD and film bloke. Jeez, mate. Is there anything that spoils food for you? I.e. mushrooms, peppers, etc. What a bizarre question. I don't know whether that's genuine interest or because, like, oh God, you're a fatty, I bet you like your food. Either way. There's not a great deal I will turn my nose up at, to be honest. And if it's nothing I've tried, most of the time I'll give it a go. However, I hate, despise sprouts. I love cabbage, but to me, sprouts just taste like shit. They're horrible. Vile. I used to hate turnip, but I love it now. And the other thing that I really... I'm not a fan at all. Certain ones, yeah. Seafood / fish. I absolutely adore fish and chips from the fish shop. And I absolutely love like the smoked mackerel you get with the peppers on the top. And I like tin mackerel in the tomato sauce. But, God, I love prawns. But all that octopus and winkles and cockles and sushi needs banning. I've never tried it. I don't want to. Cold fish, raw, and cold rice. Beautiful. No, thanks. So yeah, it's pretty much more seafood and sprouts. Peppers, I love peppers. Love mushrooms. ginger. I'm not a fan of ginger. Like, that can spoil stuff. It's all right in curry, but that's about it. The next question is from Red Room Antics. Thank you very much. My question, what is your favourite movie from the golden age of Hollywood era? Right, there's a lot to pick from. And the only thing I've Googled about this, this was one of the ones actually I read early. I thought, what's the golden age of Hollywood? I didn't know what years it was, and it's from 1920s, I think it was, right up until 60. So I thought, well, for saying, I could have took the easy way out and said, right, 1960, Psycho. But then I thought, would a lot of people class that as a golden age? And I thought, I'm not gonna use that. Probably the ones that I love are not what you'd expect, like Casablanca and all that type of stuff. That's not really my thing. So I'm going to try and pick 2 or 3 out, and then I'm going to try and narrow it down to one. An obscure-ish one for me was either late 50s or early 60s. I think it was in the 50s. And it's one of my favourites, if not my favourite, black and white films. I can't decide whether I like this better than Psycho. And it's The Bat with Vincent Price. And if you've not seen it and you're a horror fan, you really need to watch it. Watch it and tell me who you think the killer has influenced. That's all I'll say. And it's a brilliant film. And with it being an old black and white film as well, I got it wrong. I didn't guess who it was. I could watch that film any day, any time. I could watch it 7 days a week. I haven't watched it for a long time, but there was a point where when I used to go to bed and I'd work the next day, it used to help both me and the wife get to sleep. And it was on every single night in bed. It was like a massive comfort thing. But what a film it is. So that is definitely one of them. I would also have to go for The Wizard of Oz, because that film is absolutely groundbreaking and amazing. I've loved it ever since I was a kid. I've got a really nice edition, actually, on Blu-ray. And it's got the 3D Blu-ray in it. It's one of them films, really, that was absolutely no need to put on 3D. It doesn't add to it. There's nothing really, like, jumps out. It's fine and dandy as it is. It's one of those films that should never be touched. And also, I absolutely love them. The Basil Rathbone Sherlock Holmes films, especially Hound of the Baskervilles. I've got the box set with them in. It's only DVD. But if they re-release that on Blu-ray, I would be on that. I love it. I've watched it 2 or 3 times, like in the space of a year. I bought it in a sale. I didn't watch it for years. Then when I finally watched it, I was like, Jesus, I could have had these watched. I've missed out. But also, most of the Universal Monster films as well. I think my favourite one is probably The Wolfman out of them. So I've narrowed it down to The Wolfman, The Bat, The Hound of the Baskervilles, and Psycho. Which do I go for? I think it's going to be The Bat with Vincent Price. I would love for that to get a decent release, but I just don't think it's got the popularity. Excellent question, though. Thank you very much for that one. Dr. Impossible. Hello, sir. His question is, if you were given the chance to write and direct a follow-through to Jaws the Revenge, what would be your approach to a fresh story? Where would you set it? Who would you cast? And what would be the very basic plot summary? Give it some serious thought. No funny stuff. It would be a pleasure intercepting your communications on this seafaring adventure. P.S. Okay. Add some laughter at the plot. I think we need a more comedic turn after the seriousness of Jaws 4. Wow. Right, if I was given the chance, a direct follow from Jaws the Revenge. I would definitely, if she was up for it, I would want Ellen Brody back by Lorraine Gary. I would definitely want Michael back. How old would Michael be now? Oh, God, he'd be in his 50s or 60s, wouldn't he? I wouldn't mind playing that part myself. Well, I can't act fish. Anyway, who would I get in their 50s to play Michael Brody? I don't know. I'll think about that one. And how would I have it? I would personally, I would have Michael move back to Amity, early retirement and all that, so he can come and look after his mum, because she must be knocking on a bit now. And I would have his daughter and his wife. I'd have them still together. Or I would say him and his wife divorced after Thea was on that banana boat in Jaws the Revenge and got attacked. She could never forgive him for studying the shark, and they split up. However, from being a little girl, she was close with her dad. So when she grew up, she comes back to Amity with her dad. Whether the wife's there or not, I don't know. I'm not bothered. You can take your pick with that one. But him and the daughter and the grandmother, so you've got like 3 of the family together, as long as they're there. They're back in Amity. And I would definitely have it filmed back in Martha's Vineyard again as well for authenticity. And I would have another shark turn up. But I would have Michael being that sick of people going after them and not really sort of getting the result that they wanted. I mean, I know that they do sort of like get the shark in the end, but there's so many people hurt, and I think I'd have Michael thinking he can do a better job, so he's going to go and get a couple of people like his dad did in the original, and he's going to go and get this one himself. What else was in that question? Although it's not exactly a fresh story, I would try and make it the best sequel I could. I wouldn't do like what Halloween have done, where I tell you what, let's go back to the original and just ignore any other sequel. I wouldn't ignore Jaws 3. I couldn't ignore Jaws 4, otherwise there'd be no granddaughter and I wouldn't be doing a sequel to the sequel. But I would definitely make it so we know that the events in Jaws 2 for real definitely happened. Jaws 3, maybe touch upon, you remember when I went over and worked in Florida for a couple of years, just to acknowledge them all. So I would try and sort of make all the first 4 and the new one tie in more together. Because Jaws 3, Jesus, it was ridiculous, really. You think Jaws the Revenge was... I love Jaws the Revenge, by the way. Love it. For me, Jaws 3 is the worst one of the 4. However, when that came out on 3D, wow, the 3D is really, really good, I think. And it improved that film so much. But as bad as Jaws 3 is, it's always been like a comfort thing to me. So I like it, but for the wrong reasons. It's not a good film at all. But that's what I would do. I would continue the plot. I would have it a bit more serious and sinister. A bit like the Peter Benchley book, but I wouldn't make the characters arseholes like they are in the book. yeah, I think that's what I would have him retire, or he has retired. He's come back home. His daughter and Lorraine Gary's granddaughter has decided to come over with their dad, whether it be permanent or for a holiday. I mean, it could be permanent, could write it in the script that after they'd split up, the man passed away or whatever, or moved on with somebody else. I don't know. And I would have them. She'd obviously, Lorraine Gary's retired. There's no Mayor Vaughan. He's long gone. They killed Martin off so that he couldn't come back. I'm sure Lorraine Gary'd be up for it one more time. Better hurry up though. And I would have them, yeah, back on Amity Island. Another shark appears. And I think I would try and keep the same format in a way as the original, where Michael goes out to sea. But who he's going to take with him, I don't know. But possibly Thea, his daughter. Because she could follow in the footsteps of her dad. She could have studied. And maybe he's an equivalent of a modern-day Quint, who's now on the island like a fisherman as well. That's the direction I would take it. So it would be a sequel, and it would sort of tip its hat to all 4 sequels. Wow, that ate my brain. That was a really, really good question. I thank you for that one. Dr. Impossible. You little tinker, you. Stuart George. All right, Stuart. When people ask why you buy physical media in this day and age with streaming and dodgy sticks, etc., and don't have the storage space, and have all the storage space filled with Blu-rays and DVDs, what do I say to them? Funny enough, we touched upon this the other night when I was on Scott's live stream, and there was me, Scott, Pete, Josh, Matt, and Andy, and we were on about this briefly. And I'd said, it gets on my nerves when people start whinging on. What'd you collect that for? And why don't you use streaming? Mainly, I like to have the physical thing. There's just something about it. B, the picture quality is better anyway than streaming, because you've got the disc and it holds more info than streaming it. C, I'm a collector / hoarder, and it's just what we do. We just like to have something physical. And D, what bugs me more is the people who ask me about it the most. It's usually women, to be fair. Blokes get it more, I think, because I think we are more hoarders. But the women who ask me, it's mainly the lasses I used to work with. It's like, oh, yeah, I'm boring, I'm a dull. I was like, yeah, but you like go on about your bloody house and your shoes you've paid 200 quid for, and oh, we're just going out for a meal, innit? Wow, I'm so excited. I mean, for instance, I've got some in front of me. The Elephant Man. What a film. Love it. Oh, let's just put it on streaming. Watch it, finish. Yeah, that was good. Loved it. Or, do I want that bad boy that does this and has this? If I can get it out. Oh, this is such a beautiful set. You get these cards and it opens out, and look at this. Books, art cards, discs. You can sit and look at them even when you're watching the film. It's just, I like to have physical things that I can't describe it. But for me personally, you can't beat it. It's like when people say, what do you want for Christmas? Get me Blu-ray. Get me 4K. get me a voucher so I can buy one. For me, there's no comparison. Streaming is just cack. I would like to see it die out of death. I really would. And also, I would say, well, we all like different, so you like what you like, don't you? You can't help it. But I've always been the same. I've always been the same. Even when it was like videos and stuff, oh, I've bought this. It's on the telly tonight. Tape it. Yeah, but the adverts. It's not a good quality. You don't get the cover and the artwork. It's all about the physical sort of part of it, having it all in your hands. And I don't suppose I'll ever change. I haven't said that. I'm debating about the records, but that's another story. But yeah, good question, that. Thank you very much. Danny Dukes. You alright, Danny, mate? Nice video, thank you. What got you into the video nasties? That's a really good question. I think it was when we got our first video machine. My dad had just retired, now still at school. I was 15. But a couple of years before that, my sister, they got theirs. But this is when you used to rent them, like you'd rent the machine and rent your telly. I think she rented it. Because I think at the time they were too expensive to buy. She did buy one eventually, obviously. And they started renting all these films out and stuff. And when I used to sleep over at my sister's, I wouldn't watch. They'd always get horror films. And my two nephews, one of which is older than me, they used to get stuff out like Friday the 13th. So I would go upstairs and listen to music or have a go on my nephew's bass and that. And I could hear them downstairs because they used to have people over as well. Be all quite and all go like, at the shock bits. I'm thinking, wow, I'm glad I ain't down there. And then when we got our own video, the first two films that my dad hired when I got in from school, he got Jaws for me. And I'm pretty sure it was in the completed card carton thing, and Dressed to Kill with Michael Caine and Angie Dickinson and Nancy Allen. And I'd always fancied seeing that, but I thought, is that going to scare me? Bear in mind, I'd seen Halloween on the telly when I was 13, and I'd seen Psycho on the telly when I was 11, and they terrified me. Them two films put me off watching horror for a few years because I was absolutely terrified. So then when I watched Dressed to Kill, that terrified me. Dressed to Kill give me some trouble sleeping for the one night, but I got to sleep eventually. Then after that, I would sort of like test the water with a few more. I went to my sister's in 82 as well. I remember it was 82 because I'd just bought the Tigers of Pantang album, the Cage. And I went up there and they'd got The Last House on the Left. So when I first started watching it, I was like, what the hell is this? All this banjo music and prattling about. Got the wrong film and we all thought the same, what a pile of crap and all this. Then it just changes like that. So dark, and it knocked me sick. The bit in the forest, you'll know, it just made me feel ill. I couldn't, yeah, it was in my head all night. I couldn't eat my tea or nothing. But then this day, after Dressed to Kill, we had a few more. I was going away with my sister. And when I got in from school, my dad had got The Burning. And I was like, oh, for God's sake. But it was like, it was an unwritten rule that whatever film got hired in that house, I had to see it. So I put it on. And it absolutely blew me away. I loved it. Absolutely loved it. And I was like, get in, I've watched it, I've got through it. Everybody was talking about that film at school at the time. And it was years later I found out that I'd actually saw the cut version. But even so. The same night, I went to my sister's. I remember it was really bad raining. And we were supposed to be going to the Lake District. And it was bad, that rain, so they decided to go on the next day, the Saturday morning. So in their infinite wisdom, they'd gone to the video shop, hadn't they? They got what they asked for Friday the 13th because they wanted me to see it. It wasn't in, so they got part 2. So I actually saw The Burning and Friday the 13th part 2 in the same day. And I did see the similarities, but I did like Friday the 13th Part 2 better. I both love films to this day. And then it was after that, I wanted more horror. And then I started seeing some of the older ones. At the time, they weren't classed as video nasties. So I'd seen Last House on the Left. I'd seen The Burning. And I think I'd seen another one or two, which I can't remember. And then they got banned. By that point, I was definitely a horror hound anyway. But when they got banned, that was definitely, that just created more attraction to want to see them. There was the odd one that I vowed I never wanted to see. And the two that spring to mind are Snuff and Cannibal Holocaust, because of the reputation they both had. But then as I moved into my sort of early 20s, I was on a mission. I needed to see them all. But then when DVD and Blu-ray came out, mainly Blu-ray, and like more of these things started to sort of come out, that was it. Like, right, I'm going to get these. I want to see them. I've wanted to see them for years. So that was how it started. I'm sorry for the long explanation, but you asked. Yeah, it did start with me sort of being weaned onto horror, which then led to the band stuff. And I've just loved them ever since. Damn fine question, though. Thank you for that one. Cy Robson. What's your favourite rom-com? And he's put a laughing face. However, I do class this as one, and it is my favourite. That Bad Boy. Love it. I never got to see this at the cinema at the time because nobody had seen me. This came out in 78. I was 10. So I didn't really want to go on my own, and nobody took me. The first time I saw this was its premiere on the telly. Blew me away. It would have blown me away even more had I seen it at the time, because I was just mad on this fella. Wanted to see Saturday Night Fever, but I couldn't because it was an X. Wanted to see this, but I couldn't because nobody had taken me. But I had all the Bee Gees stuff and all this stuff from that era. So yes, that I would say it was my favourite rom-com. It's not normally the type of thing I would watch, but there you go. David Nicholson. All right, David. What do you think is the most spectacular murder from any film in the giallo genre? Also, favourite segment from any Amicus portmanteau? Horror? Should have Googled that one, shouldn't I? Right. Amicus. I haven't seen as many Amicus as what I've seen Hammer. The only Amicus ones that spring to mind are Tales from the Crypt, A Vault of Horror, and I think is From Beyond the Grave Amicus? Or was that a Hammer? I can't remember. But they've all three of those, although they're all anthology films, they have some great scenes in. To pick a favourite scene or segment, or does portmanteau horror mean? What's that word I'm looking for? Anthology? I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to say segment must mean that. Oh, God. And if it is that, again, I'm going to say it's either Peter Cushing in not From Beyond the Grave, Tales from the Crypt, where he's he's a little old fella making all the toys. All the kids come and see him after school, and he's always like giving them things. He's just a lonely old fella, and there's a horrible bloke trying to sort of accuse him of what's all the kids doing over there and all that type of stuff. That is a fantastic story. Peter Cushing, wow, I love him. I absolutely love him. He can do no wrong. But that part he plays is fantastic. So I'm going to say that one. But there's another one, and I don't know where this accounts. I don't know if it's Amicus or the other one, Hammer. And it's in from Beyond the Grave, and it's the segment with David Warner in the mirror. When I saw that on DVD for the first time, I thought this was definitely cut for telly, because I thought that was absolutely brutal, and I thought it was a brilliant story. They're all brilliant films anyway. There's not a bad story in them. So I would go with either the David Warner one or definitely that Peter Cushing one in Tales from the Crypt. Spectacular Murder from Eddie Giallo. I've not seen loads and loads of them, but I mean, I've been absolutely loving the Argento stuff lately. There's too many to think. And some I can't even think, because I'm trying to remember them all. But I do really like... and I found this brutal, even though it wasn't particularly overly graphic. The way it was done. I think it was Cat of Nine Tails with Carl Malden. And it's the scene on the train station where the guy's pushed and you get the close-up of the train hitting him. I was like, whoa, that got me. I thought it was so well done. And then when I heard how they'd done it, I was like, it's one of them things I'd rather have not known, because it was just so well done. I'm trying to think of a Argento one, but I mean, he's brutal. His stuff's brutal anyway. And I know it's cartoony and a bit over the top, but there's a part in Tenebrae when the arm gets... But that is gory. That is really gory for what it is. But it's fantastic. Again, Argento, like I'm appreciating him more and more as time goes on. Especially now I've seen all these ones that they've re-released on the 4Ks and stuff. I need to give Suspiria another go, because I really want to like that as much as everybody else. But yeah, that's what I would have said anyway. The David Warner and the Peter Cushing ones for Amicus, and Tenebrae and Cat of Nine Tails for the Giallo. So yeah, good question, David. Cheers. Hugh Morgan. This is the dude who's got me to do this. He wanted me to do this. He's got two questions. How did I meet John from Mondo Chelovek Movies, and what was my first job? I met John just by... I was watching like videos like of this nature, and one day one of John's just popped up in the suggested thing. So I watched it, and my first image, he's going to hate me for this. My first thought was, God, you miserable bastard, smile. And then I watched another one, and another one. I was like, I don't know whether I like him or not. It took a while. And then I started watching him again. I was like, do you know what? I actually really, really like this fella. And I subscribed, and I just started watching all of his stuff. And then I seen people sending stuff into him, and I was like, wow. I wonder if I could send him something. And I just messaged him one day. And I said, is there any way I can send you something? I've been watching your videos and stuff. I'd really like to send you these two things I've got. And that was how it started. So he'd mentioned Video Nasties, and at the time, it just happens I had a spare copy of Snuff, which is not the easiest one to get hold of. But I'd upgraded to Blu-ray, and I had the DVD as well. And then I also had 2 copies of the Scream Factory release of Demented, which I think is a Section 3 title. So I sent him them, and then we just got chatting, and we talked a bit more. And then Video Nasty's live stream was mentioned. I said I'd like to do one with you, and that was how it started. And then we just ended up meeting on the off chance once. We arranged to meet up. We've exchanged phone numbers, and that's it. We've sort of been mates ever since, really. And my first job, I worked in, believe it or not, a TV shop when I was 16. I'd left school, in '84, and there was at the time a thing called YTS, Youth Training Scheme. If you didn't go to college, you could go on one of these, so that's what it was. And it was a place called McKenna and Brown, which is no longer a thing. And they had a shop in Middlesbrough, and one in Redcar, one in Bishop Auckland, and one in Darlington. And I was in the Middlesbrough one. When my YTS ended, I still used to work. I think it was Saturdays, weekends. They had me on. A little bit of cash in hand for a 16-year-old. And then I actually got took on for a while, working in the shop. But I was doing stuff like filling in telly license forms, and every time somebody buys a new telly, you have to manually write out a form and send it off. It's all computers now. So they kept me on, and I was only there about 5 or 6 months, and then he got took over by a company around here called Upton's. And when Upton's took over, they started making cuts, and I was basically the first one to go, unfortunately. So that was my first job. I loved it as well. But McKenna and Brown is no more. So there you go, Hugh. I hope that's answered that in enough detail for you, mate. Thank you very much. Horror Hands. How you doing, Bryn, mate? Are you alright? Any Holy Grail movies / releases that you want for the collection? Loads. I want... Oh, God. That put me on the spot a bit. The first thing that springs to mind is the US Synapse 4K of Suspiria with the slipcover. I regret not getting that when it first come out now. But now I've got all the other Argento ones. That's kind of becoming a bit of a grail for me. I've only got it on Blu-ray, but I've only watched it once and I wasn't keen on it. This is why now I've seen all the others, I need to rewatch it. But yeah, there's the American Suspiria with the slip. I was also going to say the Scream Factory Blu-ray with the slip of The People Under the Stairs, but they've now announced it's coming out on 4K with the slip. I'd rather have that, so I'm going to get that when that comes out, hopefully. Four Flies on Grey Velvet was one, but I got that for Christmas, thankfully. The missus got me that, so I'm over the moon with that because it was only out for a very limited time. There's also there's two others that I can think of now I've mentioned it, and I've accepted the fact I'm never going to get them because they were snapped up by scalpers just so they could like increase it and put them all over eBay. I think you know, these really expensive boutique things like the Cine Art, and I don't even know half of them. But there's the most amazing version of Psycho come out in this beautiful spot glossed case. And you got like the 4K in a steelbook, I think was in. And you got like a little card standee, cards, booklets, posters, whatever. That, if you know it, you know it, that one. And there's also some similar editions of Jaws come out. And one of them's got the original Cinema Art, but it's like a lenticular slip of that. But it's not just the Blu-ray. Again, there's posters and booklets and stuff inside. And there's another one there's another one as well of it, which is, I think it's called a full slip. And it's got a steelbook in, and it's got another cover in, which has got stuff in, like cards and posters. And the front of that, I think it's the Turkish Jaws poster, which is basically the Jaws 2 shark with a woman in its mouth. And I'd class them as grails, but they're grails that I know for well I'm never going to get them. Because I didn't even know about them when they come out. I found out about these later on. But you see them on eBay now. It's people, just have your eyes out, man. And there's a grail I would love, which I'm sure we would all love, but it's just, whether it's going to ever come out, I don't know. And it's got to be Scream Factory if I could pick as well, because they've done the Halloween box, Friday the 13th, we need a Nightmare on Elm Street box. without any shadow of doubt. I don't even care if it's just Blu-ray, because they do a great job of them. 4K will be lovely, but I would settle for Blu-ray. And yes, the remake must be in, because it's amazing. It'd be nice if they could get the entire Freddy's Nightmares teleseries in there as well. But I doubt it. But I'm just happy for the films with bonus stuff. But Part 5's got to be the unrated cut. So there you go, Bryn. Thank you very much, mate. Cy Robson, more of a serious one. What's your favourite remake? And what do you think is the worst remake? I'm going to say my favourite remake, it's a toss-up between the 2003 version of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which I love, and the 2006 The Hills of Eyes. That is absolutely brutal. Well, they both are. I love quite a lot of the remakes. I thought the Fright Night remake was excellent. Not a patch on the original. The things with these remakes, they get slagged off so much, you've got to watch them as a standalone film. Do not compare them to the original, because you're going to hate it straight away with a lot of them. I think the worst remake, from what I saw of it, because I turned it off after 10 minutes, was The Fog. I love the original. I tried to watch it. 10 minutes it was off. It was just so dull. Maybe I should give it another go, I don't know. And I certainly don't think A Nightmare on Elm Street's the worst remake. It just does not deserve the hate it gets. With the hardcore Elm Street fans, they don't like the fact that it's pointed out that Robert Englund's a bit of a nonce. Not Robert Englund. Jesus. Freddy Krueger. Sorry, Robert. Freddy Krueger's a bit of a nonce. But when Robert Englund played him, it was never sort of like outright came out that like he's a... But the remake did. You couldn't escape it. But you tell me, there's bound to be one or two, yeah, but the majority of people, I'm saying people, animals, that murder kids, they just kill them and don't do nothing else? Nah, they do vile things to them before that. So for me, even from the first one, it was a given that that's exactly what he was. However, the kids, I'm saying kids, the kids you see him kill in the films are teenagers, which I think is probably why people kick off about it. But you got to think of things like in Freddy's Dead, his daughter, in A Nightmare on Elm Street 3, the little girl on the tricycle, who was obviously like some sort of ghostly figure. They weren't all teens that he killed. So and you've got to remember, people, he's not real, it's only a film. Jesus, people get so head up about it. But yeah, I don't think A Nightmare on Elm Street is the worst remake, but I really liked it. I like the Nightmare on Elm Street remake better than Friday the 13th remake. I thought that was overrated, and I thought it could have been so much better. I do like it, don't love it. So yeah, I think my favourite's going to be Texas Chainsaw Massacre and The Hills of Eyes. Draw. I can't pick between them. And I'm going to say The Fog for the worst, even though I haven't seen it all. If you want one that I've seen all the way through, Jesus. Oh God. I think it might be April Fool's Day. I think they did a remake of that. That was god awful as well. Next one. Mrs. Rock God. I wonder who that can be. I've heard your wife is dead funny. Don't you think she should be on your channel to talk about films, spelled F-I-L-L-U-M-S? One, whoever told you that she's funny lied. And two, no. And the rest of that question is, I bet she has fantastic taste in films. My favourite film is Labyrinth. I'll let you decide that one for yourselves. And I guess, seriously, what's your guilty pleasure that people would be shocked to know you love? That's actually a really good question for anybody. A guilty pleasure. Wow. My automatic reaction would have gone to Grease, but I can't class that as a guilty pleasure because I think most of the planet loves that film. So it's not like a case of like, you watch that crap, because you can't say that really. Oh, man. Wow. People will be shocked. People will be shocked. Right, I'm probably going to say I do have 2 or 3 DVD box sets. Oh, God, I haven't seen them for years. They're in a box somewhere. I'm due to watch them. They've got all the old Dr. Seuss cartoons on, like The Cat in the Hat, Green Eggs and Ham, The Sneetches and Other Stories is what Green Eggs and Ham. It's Hot in the Ears of Who, all that type of stuff, cartoons. So that's my guilty pleasure. But then again, I loved the Dr. Seuss books. I do actually still have a couple now. I've got the Cat in the Hat and stuff. So I would say it's either them. Again, other stuff like Watership Down, which is my favourite animated film of all time. I can't even say that's a guilty pleasure because a lot of people think that's quite a disturbing film, and for kids it is. And a couple of Disney ones. Oh, I've thought of one, which isn't a cartoon, and I've got it on Blu-ray. Footloose. Kevin Bacon giving it rock all when he's trying to be angry. Yeah, I love that film. Footloose, there you go. Thank you, Mrs. Rock God. The classics at our race. How you doing, bud? Are there any Maiden songs that you associate directly with films that you love? 1. And it's ever since I've watched the film and the song is actually in the film. And now, as soon as I put that film on, I think of that song before it even comes on. If I play the song, I think of the film straight away. And the film is, it's an Argento film. It's Phenomena with Jennifer Connelly. Phenomenon is a UFO album, isn't it? Phenomenon is the film. And the song is Flash of the Blade. It's played quite prominently in the film. And I was surprised when I heard it. I think it's probably the shock of it. It's made me think of it so much. That's the only song I can think of which makes me directly think of a film I love. But there is a couple of Maiden songs, one in particular. I listen to it now and I think, Jesus, this is amazing. This sounds like it should be in a film. It sounds like part of a soundtrack. And it's like the mid-section where Bruce will stop singing for a bit. And then you get this absolutely gorgeous mid-instrumental section. And it sounds absolutely epic. And I know they've ripped it off of another band because I've heard the original. And it's The Nomad. Very, very underrated song, and it's fantastic. So that was a good question, that actually. Thank you. Bogey Cat Productions. Mikey, how you doing, mate? Movies you wish you'd seen in the cinema but didn't. Wow. Straight away. Jaws 3D and Friday the 13th Part 3 in 3D. For sure. They would have been top of my list. Also, Freddy vs. Jason, because that was the only Elm Street film that I didn't see at the cinema. I saw all the others at the time they came out, from the original right up to and including Wes Craven's New Nightmare. I saw the lot. There was only Freddy vs. Jason I didn't see at the cinema. Was there any more I wished I'd seen at the cinema? I was probably too shitty to be at the time, but now when I look back, I wish I'd seen Creepshow. I missed Jaws first time around, but it got re-released in 1980, I think it was. And I remember going into Middlesbrough town centre with my mate on a Saturday. And there it was, and it was Jaws with Jaws 2 as a double bill, so we were in there about 5 hours. Jaws finished, you got a break, Jaws 2 come on straight afterwards. My heart couldn't take it. But yeah, I think that's the three I think of straight away. Creepshow, Jaws 3 in 3D, and Friday the 13th, Part 3 in 3D. That was a good one. Right, all right, Brian. I haven't heard from you for a while. I went to watch my Tarzan DVD box set the other day, and I was shocked as 3 of the films would not play. They used to play okay. I got the box set back in 2006. The discs look new, and I looked on the net, and apparently they have disc rot. Has this ever happened to you? Yes. The first time it happened to me was actually on CDs. I think it's fixable, but I don't know. The first time it happened to me was a Sex Pistols CD single. It was the re-release of Pretty Vacant, and it happened to an Iron Maiden one I've got, Fear of the Dark Live. And it looks like frost on the outside of the disc. And it all seems to happen mainly in the Digipack covers. I did get it once, but I didn't know what it was at the time. On Laserdisc as well. I got Jaws 2 for Christmas one year. When I played it, I'd always noticed, even from being brand new, it didn't look totally 100% colour. It had like a very, very, very slight pinkish tinge, and I thought, is that the tube going? And then when I read up on it, it was a form of disc rot, which I found strange. And I did have a really, really old Laserdisc, and it was when it was called Laser Vision over here, of The Island with Michael Caine in the Peter Benchley one. And that just looked like watching a well-worn VHS. It was just speckly all over the screen constant. So I have had it, yeah, but touch wood, not with Blu-rays and 4Ks at the minute. And I don't think I have with DVDs. However, I do remember I've got Jason Goes to Hell unrated on DVD. And I've watched that a few times, and I put it on this night and it's stuck. And it would not go forward. I've got like blocky images. I tried this about 10 times, but it wasn't having it. And it's still the same. Now I'd buy the disc again anyway. So, yeah. It has happened to me before. Richard Sharnes, I think it's pronounced. All right, Richard, mate. This is the guy who sent me the amazing Power Slave pop figure. As a fellow Maiden fan, what is your all-time piece of memorabilia? I've got to say it is the latest bass, the West Ham bass. Because when I met Steve Harris, I took it with me, and he signed it. He's personally signed it, like put my name on it, and then I actually took it to a professional place to get it lacquered over, so that it'll never come off. And also on the back of the bass, he signed All the Best Steve Harris as well, so he's actually signed it twice. I've since met him again, and he signed my other two, the other two signature basses. But I've never been able to seem to afford to get them lacquered over, so they're in the bag unused. Now I don't use them, I daren't, because I don't want that signature to come off. But I would have to say that was probably my favourite one, because I know it's personally signed to me, and I was there and I got it done. And got my photo took with him as well, so yeah, good question that, Richard. Charlie Bronson, all right, Charlie. How many movies in your collection, and where do you store them all? Wow. I honestly couldn't even begin to guess how many. I don't know if it's hundreds or 1,000 or more. Honestly, I wouldn't even want to guess. Where do I store them? Wow. There's a rack there, which has got like 4 or 5 down, and then there's 2 bits at the front which slide, and you can put them in there as well. But because it's right in the corner, I can't get into it because I've got a massive thing of vinyl there as well. So I need to drag that out and get it filled because there's a lot of space in that. But I've also got them in boxes. I know it's a sin, but I've got like 2 or 3 boxes in here because there's somebody coming in to check the gas thing tomorrow. So yeah, I've got them all over. The couch is full over there. Can't sit on that couch. It's just full of stuff. But as a number, honestly, mate, I couldn't tell you. Michael Hewitt. Michael, one of the most generous people who I've had the pleasure of meeting on YouTube as well. How are you doing? Are you all right, buddy? What superpower would you most like to have? Mine would be time travel. I reckon... I don't think immortality would count. I want to say invisibility. The advantages that would have. The things you could glean. The situations you could go in and listen to or watch if you're that way inclined. I'd love it. Invisibility, definitely. Niblonian 88 as wow, good lord. This is in 3 sections. 1, we know about Maiden, but you don't seem to mention other bands. Are we your next 2 favourite bands? I'm guessing Boney and the Wurzels. Close. My next 2 favourite bands, I would say, are Kiss and oh wow, I don't know if it would be the Police, Sex Pistols, Motorhead, or Metallica. I don't think it would be Metallica. I think they're the bottom of those 5. Motorhead. Don't think it would be them. Police, Sex Pistols. I would say it was good about with them too, but I think Kiss is probably after Maiden. Another one of my favourite bands is Feeder. I think they're amazing as well. But there's that many. But yeah, I would have said Maiden, Kiss, then the Police or the Pistols. The 1984 video recordings act in hindsight, was it a good thing or a bad thing? Is your answer different today than it would have been almost 40 years ago? Yes. Because 40 years ago I would have said, no, why should they ban them? It's up to us to watch what we want to watch, and I do still stand by that. However, my answer has changed to, yeah, I'm glad they were banned. Because now we can all appreciate them more and we can now get them. And had it not been for their notoriety, we would have never, ever known half of these films existed. Mardi Gras, what? You wouldn't have known. Cannibal, what? What the hell's that crap? You just wouldn't have known nothing about them. I dare say even The Burning. I don't think we'd have known that, and that was like the first Weinstein / Miramax film ever. But would it have had like the fame it's got now? In the States, yes, definitely, because they went banned over there. Driller Killer, we would have never heard of it. And we certainly, I don't think, would have heard of half of the Argento Fulci stuff. And Ruggero Deodato as well. So yeah, I do think, looking back now, I'm glad they were banned, because all it's done is made me want to watch them all, and now, years later, they're sort of like getting released in some amazing editions and uncut. So, yeah, I think at the time, everybody was gutted because we want to watch, but when you think now, they've done us a favour. And the third part, have you ever ventured down the extreme horror / exploitation rabbit hole? August Underground, Guinea Pig, Vomit Dolls, etc. No. Nor do I ever want to. There's gore and there's gore. And that does not interest me at all. I would say the closest I've come to that, and I don't even think it's as bad as all that, but there's a company who releases stuff just like that called Unearthed Films, and they released a Serbian film. I've seen that. Enjoyed isn't the right word. I thought it was a really, really good film. I thought it was very well made. I think people have totally overreacted to the content. Yes, it's brutal. Yes, it's wrong on so many levels. But the bit that people keep going on about, which involves a newborn, it's just totally overreacted, because you can see, when you see this newborn, it's clearly a dummy. And then what's supposed to be going on, you don't see it anyway. It's all left. So I think it's got that sort of Texas Chainsaw Massacre effect where when it was took off the shelf for so long, you think, God, it was gory as hell, that. But then when you watch it, there's very, very, very little blood in it. And I think the Serbian film's got that similar effect. It's the shock value of it. I was more disturbed, to be honest, by what he did to the woman on the bed, who he was like, you know, that. I was like, whoa, didn't see that one coming. That was worse for me. And the ending's tragic. Absolutely tragic. It's a dirty film. It makes you feel dirty. And it definitely puts you on a downer. It's one of them type of thing. But, yeah, extreme horror and exploitation, I think that's as far as I would go. Guinea Pig, Vomit Dolls, the title puts me off. No, thanks. Mark Norwood, my buddy and bandmate. What do you like most about the new 4K scan of Dog Soldiers from Second Sight? Oh. And can you tell us more about your... He's in the band. And can you tell us more about your band Afraid to Sleep and what's in the pipeline for 2023? What I like most about Dog Soldiers is, because of the way it was shot, obviously, as you know, this is Mark's favourite film. It's grainy, but it was shot on, is it 16mm? So it's going to be. However, the detail, the clarity, and the colours are just, it's definitely by far the best edition that's ever come out of it. And it's such a damn fine film. It really is. So yeah, I think that they've cleaned it up fantastic, and I don't think anybody could have done it better. Second Sight have done an amazing job on it, and their packaging as well. Amazing. I think if anybody's interested in getting that film, you need to get the collector's box one, because it's well worth it. My band Afraid to Sleep. We are playing Blackpool in 2 weeks' time, so there's a gig coming up. We recorded one of our songs November called Worms and Lies, which we've done like a little image video for it, which is, it's in my videos if you want to listen to it. There's a couple of things in the pipeline that I don't really want to say, because I don't want to jinx them out. I'm hoping they come off. One of them's related to the single, and the other one is it's like a long lifetime thing I've wanted to do, as has Nicole, the singer. I know you yourself, Mark, are buzzing at the thought of this, and Rich, our drummer, he seems pretty keen on the idea. Kev, my mate, another guitarist, he just goes with the flow. He doesn't really say much. But let's just say it involves recording. That's all I'm saying. And the last one, we're there, the last one. Splattered Plastic. Hey dudes, how you diddling? I don't know if both of them are, but one of them, this is two extremely funny fellas. One of them, at least one of them, is a big Return of the Living Dead fan. And he's got the picture disc soundtrack. And it's a good job I don't know where you live, because I would willingly break it and steal it. This question. If Maiden came to play in your living room, what would the mini set be? You're allowed to pick 5 songs. Right. Moonchild. Infinite Dreams. The Number of the Beast. Hell on Earth. The Red and the Black. I would make them earn their 5-song set. I was going to say stuff like We Could All Be Dead and something off maybe Killers and that, but I thought I love their new stuff. So yeah, I would have Moonchild, because that is one of my favourite songs, as is Infinite Dreams, and they're my favourite 2 off Seventh Son. The Number of the Beast is my all-time favourite song and album. However, I don't like Nico's drumming on it live, or on any other version. It's got to be Clive Bear, but to have them play it in here, definitely. Senjutsu is a fantastic album, barring 2 songs. And Hell on Earth's my favourite. And The Book of Souls is an amazing album. And it was a fight between the Red and the Black and the title track. So I've gone with the Red and the Black. I love that song. So there's your 5 songs. And that is the last question. I do hope y'all enjoyed that, because this has gone on for well over an hour. About an hour and a quarter, I think. So every single person who sent me a question, thank you so much. I do appreciate it. Give me time. I am going to hunt you all down and tag you all in it. I'll put your channels down. Thank you for taking the time out to put me on the spot. I've really actually enjoyed it. I haven't been too boring and long for you. But yes, thank you. That was a nice little difference, that. So yes, thank you very much for asking me to do this. Thank you very much for all your questions. And thank you so much, all 2 of you, for watching. And I will see you very soon on the next video. If you've subscribed, I love you to bits. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. You all take care of yourself. And I'll see you very soon. Thank you very much.